All right, Senator Jude Hofschneider, thanks so much for your time. There's a few things I wanted to catch up on with you in your office. First, you and Senator Donald Manglona wrote to um, Chairman Sablan about House Local Bill 24-21, and you expressed some concerns. But just to catch everyone up, they already voted to pass it, right? And so,
Yes.
but what are your concerns with this?
Well, basically, we feel that that particular legislation, we flagged it, and we raised the issue of the manner in which is being appropriated. I appreciate Senator Donald signing off jointly to address, because this is actually not the first time that the Saipan delegation had actually appropriated this, and the previous two times, one being for the $1 million for the NMC road, which it happened in 20 legislature, and then there was a subsequent one, about 5 point something million dollars for the 25% share of the retirees, and that the second one, the entire legislature, meaning the House and the Senate, have actually endorsed that, and but with this latest one, just tracking on the history. We feel that they have missed. They did a language of a notwithstanding clause in this latest bill, when in actuality a local bill using a notwithstanding clause on a public law, which is problematic in our opinion. Number two is we also, as delegation members, both the island of Baroda and Tinian, based on the comments being made and the legal opinion by the AG, it specifically says a delegation. So we feel that Rhoda delegation, Tinian delegation, they equally have that opportunity and access to this source of funds. But one being, first we need to identify how it became a revolving fund, and if you look at the history of this, it's a grant, or it's a loan that was extended to CUC, and because they defaulted on it, they turned the loan into an equity or a preferred stock, and along that line there are some dividends that are being paid out. I believe $40,000 monthly to today, beginning 2016. So it builds up, and we also noted that the intent of the revolving fund is to really, I'm going to quote a comment that was raised by CIDA at the time, the late Mr. Sablan, revolving account is basically to funding for capital development. The funds with principal and interest payment from revenue producing projects shall be deposited into finance additional revenue producing capital development projects, being like any infrastructure project like roads, sewers, power, and the like. So we too, we believe in Tinian and Aurora. We do have our own priorities as far as that realm of intent of the revolving fund. So fast forward to this, there's a provision in the legislation that it says notwithstanding, and we flagged that, and thereby we wrote a letter to Chairman J.P. Sablan in our hopes that they would send that appropriation to committee and further review it and take into account some of the concerns that we've raised. The most the correct way to do it, we believe, is if they appropriate it through the regular standard House appropriation bill, so that it can come to the Senate for our scrutiny as well.
And so, where is it at currently right now?
I would think that it's probably making its way over for consideration by the Ministry of the Governor, and I've made an initiative to hopefully get a chance to discuss with the Governor and the Lieutenant Governor, for that matter, so that they can flag these concerns that we raised.
All right, and so your you're saying the way they introduced it was not correct, the correct way. Should have been done
Well,
on the House.
The AG's opinion said that the delegation can. So we have delegation of Rhoda, we have delegation of Tinian,
Right.
delegation of Saipan. So we feel like we also have that authority to if that is the guidance that we can be guided upon by the legal opinion of the AG, then we certainly have, you know, just as much authority to tap into that funds. And you know, even in the legislation itself, there's no fund status with their certification of funds that there is $2 million. So from the get-go, it's concerning for us. So that's why we're bringing it up to light.
All right. Anything else you want to touch on this matter before we move on to another subject? Or?
We're tracking, like I said, and I hope that there's reconsideration in the next course of action, because we really don't want to stifle any intent or ill intent to withhold the progression of this bill, but at the same time we also ask that it be done the correct way.
All right, and I know you also have reintroduced a bill for a limited term pension plan, right?
Yes.
So,
This is my third legislature actually that I've tried to do that, and that legislation is primarily targeting that class of government employees that have actually elected to withdraw their contribution prior to 2012, 2013 with the now settlement, when, you know, so we're trying to identify those group of class to entertain or give them an opportunity or an option for them to separate from the government. Some of these public entity employees have been serving for over 25 years, and I am, you know, of the opinion, and I've learned that some of them, they want out, they want to sever ties, and they just want to find ways to you know, to have some sort of a limited term pension to service them for once they separate from the government. Now, this one is the way the bill is written right now. It's in a draft form, but I'm working with the administration by way of the Secretary of Finance, the Management and Budget, and of course OPM, to get the statistics as to how many of these employees that are still active employees. You know, so we're looking at about maybe 500 or so that could potentially dial in on this. And we hope that once we get to the finished product and it becomes law, these people will be able to, you know, dial up or sign up and then separate from the government and have like a pension program for the next few years.
And why do you think it hasn't advanced in the past? You know, is this legislature going to be different?
Well, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. You know, because we're focusing those, you know, 500 to 600, but there's other entities. I mean, other employees that could potentially qualify for this, depending on the final product. And also, we want to make sure that it's sustainable. We want to be able to give options to the younger public service agencies employees to, you know, look at it and say, hey, I want to sign up for this so that when I turn 55, which that's what the legislation is calling for right now, at 55 years of age, I can retire for at least and have a pension for the next 20 years, 20 years. So that's basically the portfolio that we're trying to push forward in this particular legislation.
All right, thanks. I wanted to shift to some current events now on Tinian.
Let's do this.
Yeah, the military buildup is you know, increasing. We just commemorated the 80th anniversary. Correct. That, you know, really signified Tinian's critical role, which remains today, right? 80 years later. What have you heard? Any updates you've heard about the buildup or how it's impacting Tinian right now?
Well, here for one, you know, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of advancement on specific projects. But I want to point out first in the CJMT, there is a joint letter. Of course, the mayor wrote a letter to CBMA, to the planners, the CJMT, to extend the comment period for another 45 to 60 days, I believe. And then, of course, I chair the delegation and I share the same sentiment, and I wrote our own separate letter expressing the desire for an extension of the comment period, so that to allow further time frame for our people, that would, especially the people of Tinian that would stand to be affected the most, to submit some comments or air some of their concerns, so we can do our best to address it. So that's number one. And I just saw in the paper today that the administration also is asking for additional 60 days. So I think everybody is in concert with the extension of comment period.
And I know the plans have drastically changed.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you have any concerns of your own, or what's your take on it so far?
Actually, it's a lot better presentation. It's a lot more less impactful, so to speak. There are, when every time that you introduce or you install something that is not germane to the island, of course there's going to be some sort of adjustment period. So this is one of them. But I'm grateful that the high impact areas have been tremendously addressed, and also there's no real concern as to the airspace, the lay of the land, and one of the things that my office, along with the leadership that we've professed, is the ability for some of our residents, the cattle ranchers that have actually still maintain their operations up there, that they can coexist with the types of installation that they're going to do. And we're pleased that since the beginning, that advocacy has always been how to work together, and I'm glad that that remains the same.
There's been a lot of talk ever since these plans actually started, right, about what's in it for the CNMI, whether that's getting the major contracts, whether that's more business for restaurants and hotels, or even better infrastructure that the military can work on at the same time. Do you think the buildup on Tinian is a fair shake, or would you like to see more benefits for Tinian? And if any, what specifically do you?
I would like to see more, quite frankly, Tom. And I'm sorry that I can interject. I think I know where this is going. So, we've been meeting with different sectors of the military, and then some staffers from the U.S. Congress, and we've aired the same advocacy in terms of the infrastructure. Number one is the groundwater. There is impact with the groundwater because even with the divert, they have an independent use of their own deep well for the construction phase. And now I just learned through contacts that even the Northfield projects, they are expanding their development to even having their own deep well, water source. So, when you have 3,000 to 4,000 people using their groundwater, and then all of a sudden you have an increase, and then there's some draw from the groundwater, it is concerning. So we need to make sure that we protect that. And so one of the things that the mayor and the Tinian delegation and the leadership is the request to do a water resource study one more time, similar to that of the 1992 water resource study. And the asks have been made numerous times to Office of OLDC, formerly Economic Adjustment Office, and as far as the grant or the approval that's pending. So I mentioned this particular issue one more time once again earlier in the week, and I'm going to continue doing it because I think it's important to do preventative than to address it in a crisis mode. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's one. Number two is the sewage treatment plant, whether it's to include distribution lines in the area of particular concern. However, we're going to do it, but we need to have a an honest conversation and prioritize the sewage treatment system, that we can jointly use. The trainings, the annual trainings, the footprints right now, however it is, and the community. And I think if we have a mutual benefit to that, this is something that I urge the DOD or whichever federal agency to consider, really, because it's a win-win situation for all of us. Number 3 is the solid waste, the municipal solid waste. Right now, thank God for the ASADRA funds. We're moving ahead with the temporary licensing of the open dump, but that is temporary. But the long-term goal is for us to move it to Atgidun, and it's jointly beneficial for both DOD and the municipality. Right now, we don't have a RCRA compliant landfill, so any waste that is generated from the trainings has to be disposed somewhere else. And again, this one is benefit the military. It's going to benefit the island, the residents. And number 4 is the roads. During the scoping meetings of the divert, I specifically asked this question to the consultants at the time, that there's going to be some heavy traffic of trucks and other vehicles that are going to be traveling our roads. And those roads on Tinian, I think 75 to 80% of them have been paved 80 years ago. And the closest point between the ports, the seaports, and the projects is those roads that have been paved 80 years ago. And there was some instances where there's a sinkhole, or a truck was traveling and then it damaged the road. Obviously they addressed that, but doesn't mean that it's not going to come back again. So I made this ask again, that given the nature and the importance and the significance of those roads for my people, our people of Tinian, and also for the military, I think it's important that if you cannot do direct appropriation to fix the road, then help us figure out a funding mechanism to pave those roads, because it's critical. We're not at we don't have the luxury of having extra infrastructure funds to address all the needs. So that's the roads. And number 5, and I enumerate them not because I just kind of like drum up all the issues, but as far as the economic opportunity, we see some benefits to it. Number 1, with the excise tax that's coming in through the ports, we're generating substantial amount of money, more so than before, in years past. And I think we're gonna anticipate probably a little more than that, or maybe more, because of the movements. But I also continue to ask how to best maximize the participation of our local businesses on Tinian and even Saipan and Rora, to be part of the bigger picture as far as providing services. The eateries, the restaurants, and all that is fine, and of course the lodging, but there's other elements that we can certainly get our people to participate, and maximize it more. So I'm going to continue to ask the administration and Mr. Ed Camacho, CBMA, to work with the Chamber of Commerce for all 3 islands to, how we can map out further and have an advance notification as far as trainings that are coming up, how many people coming in, so that they can start, putting in their what is necessary for them to participate in the business and maximize the business opportunity.